Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms. I've got my dad here with me today. We actually just went to his house and picked up a jointer that we're going to be using in some future projects. But today, we're going to take this piece of walnut. It's off a tree I cut down on my property. And we're going to try to turn this into some usable lumber and actually going to make a little piece of furniture out of it. But this board has a lot of bow in it and it's live edge. And we're going to remove the live edge, see if we can flatten this out without removing too much material. This is going to be a really interesting project. The first thing we need to do is cut a perfect straight edge and a sled to use to run this through the planer. We're going to be doing this with a table saw and a planer. So first thing we need to do is we're going to use plywood for a straight edge, and so we need to go cut the plywood first. So the planer can handle 15-inch material. Our slab is a 13 to 14 in spots. So the slab we're going to run it on needs to be about 14 inches. So we're going to cut an 8-inch piece off one side of a new sheet of 3/4 inch plywood. And that will be our straight edge. And we're going to cut 14 inches off the other side for the slab. I'm still kind of a novice at woodworking, but my dad has a lifetime of experience personally and professionally doing custom woodwork. And he's also got a lot of really nice woodworking equipment that hasn't been used in a while. And we're going to see if we can bring that back to life and make some cool stuff. I wasn't sliding very good, so we put a little bit of wax on the table. Okay. So to take the bow out of this, we'll be putting these wedges under two corners until it doesn't have any wobble left. So what I realized is where the extreme bow and warp is on these outside corners that are going to be cut off anyway. So it's not going to hurt anything to shave those down for sure. So I think we've decided to flip it over and then get it attached to our sled. Use these wedges right here to hold it still. Put one here, put one under the other corner where it's not going to move, and then set the planer to just take off these high spots.
And a situation like this is going to be different from one piece of wood to the next. There's no hard and fast rule.
Yeah. So this is touching out in the middle, but really all four corners are up. Let's make sure it needs to be that way. It does. With it being on this end, all four corners are actually bowing up. I think I'm just going to screw these down. That ain't going nowhere.
I have a hunch that our planer's going to take a little off this end. It's not even going to touch going through here, and then it'll take off a little more at the other end. And so we'll just have to push it on through because the roller, it won't be touching. The rollers won't pull it.
Yeah, and I think that's what we want to happen. And I also think that we don't necessarily have to take it down for what we're doing until it's planing the middle. Yeah. Because if we get it really close, then that will be good enough to run it across the table side and remove the live edge.
Yeah.
We're going to cut this into narrower lumber. We don't need this to be perfectly flat. Even though this process will get it perfectly flat, we don't need that. And the more you go for that, the thinner your piece of material left is. We need it to be flat enough that it'll sit smooth on the table saw so we can remove the live edge. fit that time. Okay, now in theory, we have one perfectly flat side. I actually wasn't going to go down this far, but it happened a little quicker than I thought. So, in theory, if we want this to be two perfectly flat sides, we can now run the other side through the planer. But I think instead, maybe we should go ahead and cut it into width. And remove the live edge. And actually, I was going to test it on this table to see how flat it sits, but instead, I think maybe we want to use our straight edge to lay across
Lay
it.
that up on the table. Well, the table may not.
Because I don't think the table's necessarily perfectly flat. That's a lot better. It doesn't come across as perfect on here, but let's put that straight edge on it.
You still got a gap, but it's not very big.
Yeah. Very, very small.
And I go corner to corner, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's where most of the twist was.
So,
yeah, that's a lot better.
if we wanted this to be perfect, for a lot of applications, we'd need to run it again, flip it over, and run it some more. But I think for what we're doing, this is flat enough. Because the more you process it, the thinner your lumber gets. So now we can attach a guide to this and use the table saw to cut the live edge off. I'm really happy with the way that came out. Let's see how much thickness we lost. So what we still have left, oh yeah, this is 1 3/4 inches out in the middle, about 1 5/8 inches on this end, because this end has some taper right here. But we only started with 1 3/4 inches, maybe a little over 1 3/4
We're still
inches.
going to end up with 1.5 inches, which is plenty.
Yeah. Okay. So now for this part, all we want is to remove the live edges. As always, if you guys have done this before, you see anything we could do better, leave it in the comments. Let us know what you think. But right now, the basic theory is we're going to attach this to our workpiece, and the straight edge of this will run against the table saw. The trick is just getting this straight.
This is just a little wavy.
Let's just bring it out as far as we can without going off at any point, which is right there.
Yeah, pretty much. Now you should be able to just set this up on here, measure over a given number of inches, as long as it's on the same on both sides, and attach it down.
Okay.
Say if you went 4 inches or whatever, as long as it's the same on both ends.
So we used our straight edge to put a line right at the edge of where we want to remove the live edge. Then we moved in 4 inches from that on each end, and that's where we put our straight edge. Now, this is a straight reference. We'll run the saw blade down this line by setting the fence at 18 inches. Isn't that fantastic grain on that? Even just that little off piece. I mean, look at the grain on that. It looks awesome.
It's hard to even get rid of the scraps because you're like, man, that looks nice. Maybe there's something I can make out of it. Looks pretty good to me.
See how much wood we have left. So after straightening one edge, we go to the very narrowest point of the other side of the live edge. We got about 9 3/8, which means we can rip this into 3 pieces that are 1.5 by 3. And with the saw kerfs, we should be able to get 3 full 3-inch pieces. And 1 by 3 is a pretty good material for one of the dimensions we need on this project. So as we look at this finished product, I think you'll see kind of the method to the madness of why we did not continue planing this until it was perfectly flat. Because this walnut, I cut this tree down 1.5 years ago. We milled it. It's been out drying outside all this time. And these are the pieces that were on the top of the stack and have live edge on them, and they've all got quite a bit of twist in them. Here's another one just like that one. It's got about the same amount of bow in it. And I'm getting ready after this video is shut down. I'm going to repeat the same process on this one to get another stack of boards like this. But the project I have, this is something my wife said she wants built before Christmas. And she just wanted me to go to Lowe's and buy some pine 2x4s and build it out of that. I don't like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think this is a lot more special. This is a tree I cut down myself, and to me, that's what makes it neat. And she showed me a picture of what she wants, but there was no plans or drawing or anything with it, and I'll be showing that in another video. But it looked to me like possibly it was made out of 1 by 3 or 1 by 2.5. My dad was thinking it was probably closer to 2 by 4, which is actually 2 by 4 is 1.5, by 3.5. But so we don't have an exact measurement we need to get to, but I want these to be as thick as possible. And they're currently at 1 3/4 inches on all of these. But if you come down to the thin end, this is 1 3/8 inches. So if we had continued to use the planer to work this down until it was perfectly flat, all of this material would be 1 3/8 inches, maybe 1 1/4 inches after sanding. And I don't know if that's strong enough, if it's thick enough to be strong enough. But I can cut the ends off this. I think these will be long enough that if I cut the ends off of them, these can be about 5 foot long, which is about what we need. This board was about 6.5 feet. If we cut both ends off, we can have lumber that is it's currently 1 3/4 inches. Say we go ahead and finish sand this, maybe plane the rough side, finish sand it, we can be at 1.5 inches, so it's basically a 2 by 4, and still have the length we need. We are 3 inches this way. So after the ends don't need planed, they just need some finish sanding. So we're going to have a 3-inch by 1.5 inches by 5 foot. And I think that's the most salvageable lumber we could have got out of that piece. I've got a bunch of live edge lumber out there, and some of it will be used as live edge, but not all of it. I don't need that much live edge. So I think this is going to work really well, and I'm going to work this one down the same way. And in another week or two, we'll have another project where I show you the entire process from the tree to a finished piece of furniture. So anyway, I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.